Hey, my name is Colleen Tatum, and this is Rising Up, Journey of an Agency Builder, where we explore what is the real life day to day of building a multi-million dollar insurance or finance business. So, this few weeks, if you're watching this in real time in February 2024, has been one of the most shake up times in the industry. If you're not in the industry, then you probably have no idea what I'm talking about. If you're captive, you probably have no idea what I'm talking about. But in some of the IMOs, or MGAs, if you're in Canada, some of these companies have had huge leaders, they're top leaders, leaders that are making multiples of millions of dollars a year, like $8-10 million a year, been with the company for decades, helped them build the company, have left. And many of them are starting their own companies. There's lawsuits, there's gossip, there's worry. I mean, I really feel for some of these people, because if you've been building your business inside one of these agencies that are having these things come up, it is scary times and people are freaking out. People are trying to, fill the holes in the boat with any way they can. And unfortunately, human nature sometimes is to fill it with mud. Meaning they're bad mouthing the new option. They are bad mouthing the competition. And I get it, because it's scary. You friggin' worked so hard to get to where you are. And now someone is what you view trying to take it away. And I just wanted to reflect on that for a minute. And I'm going to say to you, we're going to go through some steps today of how to maybe assess a business, any business. So if you're in the insurance finance world, hey, you're probably getting offers. Maybe your leader's leaving and you're wondering, should I leave? What should I do? Am I on a burning ship? What am I going to do? Because my family is counting on me to make the right decision. I get it. I made a move about a year ago, almost 6 months ago, and it was freaking scary. And what I learned was you have to assess the offer. You have to assess the business. Is finance and insurance the best business in the world? I believe so. It's got residual income, it's got passive income, it's got generational income if you're in the right deal. But it's weird how kind of we start to be with a team and we build a business with people and we start to forget to assess the offer. We go from employee to business owner, but we stop thinking of what works for my family. You see, a lot of companies, a lot of teams, when you're creating that team atmosphere, and this happens in other businesses, not just in finance. So I guess if you're in an MLM, if you're in a multi-level business, if you're in a network marketing business that has teams that are built with inside of it, it can happen to where the business model is one thing, but then sometimes there's different things that happen within teams, isn't there? That you get this narrative that if you leave, surely you're insane. Surely you've gone awry. Surely you're going to fail, right? At least that was the messaging that I often heard, was like, you only quit or you only fail when you quit, which is really true in business, right? Like when I was building my multi-million dollar automotive business, we only failed when we quit. You have to push through the hard times. You have to build that fortitude with yourself. Absolutely. There's too many people that start businesses and never see it through. They quit before the good part. But there's the flip side of saying, hey, maybe I need to continue to assess this opportunity. And so we're going to talk a little bit about how do you do that, because it's really important. I mean, if you were in a job and someone offered you to do the same job, but offered you double the pay or the ability to leave more to your family, or more flexibility, or a better working environment, you would consider it, wouldn't you? Like, if you didn't consider it, we would think that's kind of insane. Like, why would you stay at a job that, you know, is going to pay you half as much or give you a worse offer in some way? You wouldn't do that with an employer. But why do we do that when we join some of these team-based businesses? I don't know. Let's think about that for a minute. We build these deep relationships, and so much of these companies have so many good things going for them. You know, truly, most of the people that exist in these businesses are good people. They want to do the best for each other. They want to see you win. That's the cool thing about a team business, is that they want to see you win because, you know, they win more if you're winning, and they see your struggles, and they see you develop leadership skills, and they see you break out of your shell, and they see you do all of these things that enables you to help lots of people and enables you to build a big business and oftentimes a big income with it. So they truly want to see you win. But we often also times maybe cross some sort of lines in there where it gets blurry, it gets messy, and we stop thinking about or reassessing the offer that we're in. So let's talk about assessing that offer. Let's talk about, if you're looking at any business, right? It was the same with my automotive business. We didn't assess the offer or assess that business well enough. We didn't say, hey, what kind of lifestyle would this produce me? We looked at the money. We looked at, can this be a viable business? Is there a demand for it? But we forgot to look and see what kind of lifestyle does it give us? Meaning, when we built our multi-million-dollar automotive business, yes, we had a huge team. We had lots of revenue. People were like, wow, you're so successful. And we really were, but we had no life. It was like the bigger the business got, the more responsibility we had. So if you're a business owner and you're watching, comment below if you feel like sometimes you're, I hear the comment like, you know, a babysitter, you know, and sometimes you are, and that's okay. But the business becomes like a baby, like a responsibility. You know, we couldn't get a babysitter for our business. So every Christmas, every holiday, we had to take care of that business. Every weekend, we had to take care of the business. What does the business need? What does the business need from us in responsibility, in money? We had to keep buying in, putting more on the line, all of these things that I look back and I think, wow, probably we should assess that offer better. And so when financial services came across my plate, I had actually been a captive agent at one point before I started my automotive business. And I was like, I don't want to do that again, because in that environment, in a captive agency, it was like every man for themselves. There was no training, there was no development. And certainly, I'm sure there's some captive agencies out there that are amazing, and kudos to you. But my experience was different. It was like, get a license and then just go figure it out on your own. And it felt really uncomfortable because I was like, I don't even know if I'm doing the right thing. No one ever asked me if I was doing the right thing. No one ever checked my work. No one ever said, hey, did you do the right thing for that family, for that client? And it felt really unethical. I felt, I felt really conflicted. Like, this is important stuff, right? If I mess this up, I'm not selling them shakes. I'm selling them life insurance. I'm selling them investments. I'm selling them security for their family. And so I felt really uncomfortable. And that was my experience in the captive market. Then I left that and we went and built our multi-million-dollar automotive business. And then I realized, hey, we didn't assess that offer very well. And so financial services came across my plate again. And I was like, I was really against it because I was thinking of my captive market experience. But when I saw the model of being able to grow a team and having that team atmosphere, I loved it. I loved the mission of helping people understand money, because so many of us, I mean, I meet families of every income level. And everyone feels like right now in today's economy that they are impacted. Like things have changed for everyone, no matter your income level. It just depends, the degree of which. But people feel like they're struggling. People feel like investments are overwhelming or confusing, or they feel like they don't understand life insurance and all of these things that I love about what I do. I love being able to help people through the pros and the cons of all of these different options and letting them decide what they think is best for their family. I love it. I love what I do. So when I came across my plate again, when I saw that mission be built in a team environment, man, I just loved it. I loved the idea that I could grow my business as big as I wanted, but my responsibility financially wouldn't exponentially increase every time I did that, unlike in my automotive business. Meaning, if I was to expand or add in another channel of revenue, I didn't have to just constantly get bigger offices and pay more money for equipment and all those kinds of things. So I loved that. I loved that financial services has residual income that I can get paid, indefinitely as long as that person's a client for my work, and to build some sort of lifestyle for my family that gave us more freedom. I wanted to be able to do things with my kids on a weekday and not feel worried about what was going to happen at the store and all of those things that so many parents experience, right? Whether you're in a job or in a business. So I love financial services. I love the mission of what we do. I love the income opportunity. But I didn't look at the offer very well, meaning I didn't say, okay, I'm going to go back into this business. Maybe I should shop around and see which one is the best place for me. And so if that's where you're at in your business, no matter what business you're looking at, if you're thinking, hey, I need to make more money right now, people keep telling me to start a side hustle. Let's talk about how we can assess that offer. Okay. So number one, what kind of training do they offer? Right? Remember, that was my problem in the captive market, is that there was no training. I did not get any training. That was the problem in my automotive business. There was no training. It was just me and my husband trying to figure out how in the heck do we make a go of this, right? And so I often felt like, man, I just wish I had other team members, other partners to bounce these ideas off of. What does that training look like? So training, in the fundamentals of the business is one thing. Like in financial services, yeah, you need to know how to build a good UL or a good IUL. You need to know those mechanicals. But more than that, when I talk about training, is what's the coaching that you're going to get? Is there coaching? Do you align with that coach? Do you think that they're a good person? Do they have a track record of some proven success? Like, they don't have to be the best in the business, but are they 4 steps ahead of you, right? Like, I think you should be trained. Sometimes there's too much of a gap, right? And they forget what it was like when they were starting out because they're so successful and they're so removed from that. So sometimes in insurance or investments, I hear people say, oh, you shouldn't be recruiting unless you like really know what you're doing. And I would argue that I think you just need to be a few steps ahead of the person that you're training, right? Like if I'm a new parent, I don't need to know how to parent a 13-year-old. I just need to know how to parent a baby. And then you learn as you go, right? And so if you have a parent that's like 3 steps ahead, right? Maybe I have a baby, you have a 5-year-old. You're a great person to coach me because the advice that you're giving me is actually still really relevant, right? If you have a baby, you know that, my goodness, things change every 5 years. What I did as a parent is already like, oh, that's taboo. I have a 13-year-old. That's taboo if I was to have a baby right now. All the rules change constantly. So in business, things are always constantly changing too. So do they offer training and support? Is it regular? Is it recorded if you're starting part-time as a some sort of business? Is there an ability for you to access that training on demand? Because, you got a life and maybe you're going into business as a way to give you more freedom. And then they're saying, oh, you have to be at all of these trainings at XYZ time. And if you're not there at XYZ time, you're just not going to succeed. And that's not true. It's just that they haven't created the training in the way that meets your needs. And so this is about you assessing the offer, right? So look at the training, look at the coaching. Number 2 is, what is the flexibility, or what are the requirements, right? Different businesses will offer different flexibility. Again, in my automotive business, we didn't think about this. Man, we had to be open from X to Z. We operated 6 days a week. We could have operated 7 days a week if we wanted to. And at one point, we actually did. We had two different shifts of people. So we had day shift, we had night shift, and then we had different crews that came in at different times. They would work 14 days straight and then had 7 days off. Whoa. So we're running a 24/7 operation. And that means that we have to be at some level available for our team 24/7. Like if something really goes awry, you have to be available to help, right? You have to be available to go and coach your team. So what kind of business, what's the hours? What's the time commitment? What does that look like? Is it something that you can do remotely, or is it something you have to do in person, like showing a home, right? You can't really show a home. I mean, we did during the pandemic, I guess. We showed homes on Zoom, right? Or whatever people did. But it's not ideal. Like I would want to walk through the house, look at the house, right? And so, what kind of business are you looking at in terms of flexibility? If it's like even within the insurance world, some companies are a call center environment. Some companies are fully remote. Some companies want you to be in the office X amount of days or attend certain events. What does that look like with the company that you're assessing as an opportunity? So really look at that and compare what fits for you. Maybe you're someone that thrives in a call center environment. I've met people like that. They really just like to be given the leads. They call the leads. They'll do like 200 calls a day and they do really wonderful in that environment. For me, I would freak out. I want to be home with my kids. I homeschool my kids. I want to be available. So like I might be at home working in my office, but if I'm able to pop out and get a coffee and walk my dog for 20 minutes because it's nice outside, for me that's important. So when you're assessing that offer, really get clear on the company that you're looking at, the opportunity that you're looking at, of what does that look like on a daily basis in terms of my commitment and my flexibility on time? And is that something that I feel okay with? Number 3 is, what is the product offer and what is the selection of that? So are you selling something that's super, super niche and you only can appeal to a certain segment of the population? That can work sometimes, right? Sometimes not, right? Looking at what do I want to be able to offer my clients? Again, in the finance world, there's some companies, especially in the US, the company I'm with, we work in Canada, the US, and Puerto Rico right now. We're looking at expanding. We are very intent on expanding to like Philippines and India and all over. But right now we're in Canada, US, and Puerto Rico. So more so in the US and in Canada, what we see is call center environments, and they might do one niche. They just do final expense, or they just really focus on IULs, or they just really focus on X. Mortgage replacement. For me, I like to have a depth of carriers. So I don't like to be captive. I want to be able to sit down with a person or a family or a business and look at what are their needs. And then how do I fill the holes from there? So I like having referral partners where I can get great mortgages approved for my clients. I like having debt solutions where if I walk into a family and they just have too much debt that they can ever reasonably pay off, that we can have people negotiate that debt on their behalf and have them save hundreds of thousands of dollars of interest. I like being able to have carriers that will take my clients that have autism or ADHD or heart issues or whatever medical issues. And I like having carriers that will do really cool solutions for high net worth clients or business owners to save them taxes and make sure that they have like key person and succession plans and all that kind of stuff. I like having those options on my platform. But for some other people, they just maybe want to work in a company that just does final expenses. The cool thing, if you work with a carrier, a IMO or an MGA or a broker type model, is if you just want to do one niche, you can do that as long as that offer company is okay with you doing it that way. It's your business. You can do it how you want. So I love where I am. We can do it how we want. As long as we're compliant, ethical, legal, we can build our business how we want. But some companies aren't like that, right? You've really got to look at how do they operate? Do they have the depth or the selection that you want? Do you align with the product? Like, if you can tell, I really flippin' like doing what I do right now. Like, I feel like it's incredibly important having protection. I feel like it's super fun teaching people how to save taxes. And like, I get excited over helping someone save 20 bucks. I love it. I wasn't that excited over selling tires and fleet maintenance packages. I still got fired up about the creation of the business, the big picture. I love the deal. I love that part of business. But like, if I'm honest, I wasn't super aligned with the overall product. Like, people would come in and they would say, "Hey, come look at my truck." Like, we did some cool stuff like turbos and lift kits, and we would have people bring us their brand new truck. And then they would invest another 10, 20, $30,000 with us for us to like soup it up. I wasn't ever really excited about that. And so I was successful, but on a daily basis, it didn't fire me up. So are you aligned with the product? Are you aligned with the service that that particular offer has? Because in the long term, over 5, 10, 20 years of building a business, you better be fired up about it, because tough times are going to come. Challenges are going to come. And what I always go back to on those days is the mission of what I do, the deep, deep belief in what I do. And that makes me empowered to be able to make that next call. It gets me over that hump where I feel maybe uncomfortable to ask someone to look at my product or service. It gets me to that next point in a way that tires did not. And so when you're assessing a business, make sure that you're aligned with it beyond the compensation. Mission before commission, mission before commission, because it's the mission that's going to sustain you on those hard days. The next one is the system or the cult of a system. Okay, so what do I mean? When you're assessing your offer, do they have a proven system that you can just plug into? So a lot of times people will say like McDonald's, right? When you go into McDonald's, it's the same everywhere. And that allows them to grow really large, which is true. It's really easy. I know I can take someone that's new in the industry and teach them our system, and they can be successful here, right? Different people are going to have different levels of success. But if they follow that system, it becomes duplicatable. And the duplication process is really empowering for people, because they don't want to rely on the leader always to tell them the next step, right? They just want to be like, hey, I know what to do. I'm empowered. I can be successful in my business. But on the flip side, when you're assessing an offer, is make sure that you're not in a position where there's a cult of the system. And let me explain what I mean. Sometimes companies get so focused on the system, this is the way we do it, that they forget to innovate and grow with the times. So they might have something that worked really well 30, 40 years ago, but doesn't work as well today. And I look at it this way, like, are they adapting how they reach people? Like, how they market and how you connect with people has changed over 40 years, or at least it should, right? So 40 years ago, maybe you could just do it off word of mouth, right? People would invite you. If it's like a network-based party business, maybe they did parties, they did like big events. Those things are cool and they still work today. But now we've added on in technology all these different tools. There's social media, there's advertising. You can advertise on Facebook, you can go on LinkedIn, you can, do all of these different things to grow your business that didn't exist 40 years ago. And sometimes what I see in some of these legacy companies is they haven't allowed their people to adapt or grow. And it's because they just couldn't figure out the difference between system and being able to grow their business. Like, the mechanics of how you grow your business can change or adapt over time. How you meet a new person can and should adapt over time. Even your product offering or your compensation plan should adapt over time, right? As you continue to strive to be better. But sometimes a company will create a system, create a compensation model, or create a product offering, and they become successful. And that success freezes them in time where they're unwilling to change any part of it because they're so scared that what is proven to work is the only way to do it. And over time, what's proven to work then actually becomes their proven to fail, right? They become a dinosaur in the market, just like Blockbuster, right? Blockbuster, they had the chance to become Netflix. They actually, like, there was a conversation. They were offered that business and they said no. And where is Netflix now? And where is Blockbuster now? So when you're looking at an offer, look at, have they changed their methods, their accepted way to grow their business, their product offering, their compensation plan? Has any of that changed in the last, since they were created? Or are they just so holding on to what worked in the past that it's strangleholding their future? That's probably not where you want to plant your flag. That's probably not where you want to put your efforts to grow your business. And so if you're in that assessing part, take that into consideration. I think it's really important. This one gets me. It's one of the big reasons why I left one of the companies I was with, is because they just had one way of doing it. I was only allowed to grow my business one way. And I was like, hey, there's all these other ways. I'm really good at reaching out. I'm really good at social media. I'm really good at talking to people in different ways. And it was always frowned upon. And I think it was because they were just scared. They didn't know they didn't know if it was going to work, and they weren't open to try it. And so it started to stranglehold the business. I saw so many good people showing up week after week, wanting to grow a business, putting the time in, putting their hopes on the line, and they didn't have results. And it wasn't because they couldn't make appointments. They didn't have anyone to make appointments with. And if you have no way to grow your list, grow your market, any business will fail. If Ford said, hey, we're only going to sell it this one way, it wouldn't work. Even now, you can go online and buy a car. You can look on Ford and you can look at their prices and you can click around and you can make buying decisions in different ways because different people want you to sell to them different ways. So that one I think is really important. At least for me, it was really important. So that's part of assessing that offer. And then finally, also, what is the ownership? If you're building something, what is the compensation? Meaning now and in the future, right? In a business like mine, there's things in the financial services where you get residuals, where you get overrides, where you can build income that comes over time, but not all companies have the same. Some companies, you don't get any of that. You just get the upfront commission. And so when you're looking at an offer, look at how much you're going to get paid. Yes, they might be great people. Yes, they might have a great business. Yes, they may be successful, but is it the best offer out there for you? So look at the compensation, look at that plan in depth. When I was getting back into financial services, I did not do that, and I should have. Look at the ownership. Do you own what you're building, right? If you're starting a side business, a side hustle, if we're calling it a business, do you own it? Do you own it? And there's different levels of ownership, right? Do you own your clients? Do you own your agency? Do you own your residuals? Do you own shares in the company? Can you earn shares in the company? Some places, yes. Some places, no. Some places you're like a self-employed sales contractor. And so, yes, there's some freedoms that come along with that. Yes, there's some tax write-offs that come along with that, but you don't own nothing. Is it in the contract? Do you own it? Can you sell it? Can you take it with you? Can you leave it to your children? Can you leave it to your grandchildren? Can your grandchildren leave it to your grandchildren? That's ownership. That's what I have right now. I'm so, so happy that I was able to take a step back and assess my offer. And we chose to make a different decision. We chose to make a different change for our family. Now, that might not be your direction, and that's okay. But I think you should at least assess it, because ultimately, your business is as good as the business that you can retain, both for the clients and if you're in a team building or agency situation, for the agents that you bring on board. You're only as good as what you retain. And if you feel like you're on this hamster wheel where you have to recruit every living, breathing human being, is that really how you want to spend your days? Is that really the business that you want to be in? Yes, every business needs to recruit. In my automotive business, we needed to recruit. If we wanted to grow, we needed more people to service more clients. We needed more clients to grow, right? You have to recruit agents, you have to recruit mechanics, you have to recruit clients. Absolutely. Every single business. For some reason, the word recruit is triggering, but just think of it as expansion. To expand, you have to add more capacity. To add more capacity, you have to add more people, and you have to have people that actually want your stuff. Like, you have to have more clients. But are you retaining them? Are you retaining them? What is the percentage? So you can find, in some companies, you can find that information. Some companies have like an attrition level of like 30% a year. Some don't. Which one do you want to be in? I don't know. I know which one I want to be in. But again, this is about you assessing the offer. So keeping all of these things in mind, it's okay if you're in a position like many people are right now where they're questioning their home. I'm talking to the financial services people. It's okay if you're questioning your home. It is not taboo. It's being responsible. If you just put the blinders on and you say, nope, I'm sticking with it because if I ever was to leave, I'm a horrible, terrible person. I think the opposite. I think you owe it to yourself, and I think you owe it to your family to at least look around. Go and assess some offers. Go and see maybe where you were, maybe where you are was the best at the time when you started it. Maybe that's no longer the case. And that's okay. At the end of the day, no one cares about you or your family more than you. And sometimes you have to make tough decisions, even though you might love the people that you've been building your business with. And even though it might be hard, at the end of the day, they're not going to be there when you're 75 years old picking up the slack if there's a gap. They're not going to be there when it doesn't pass to your grandchildren what you've built. That's going to be you holding that responsibility at the end of the day. Now, if you go and assess the offer and you're like, you know what? I looked around and I'm totally happy with where I am. I do believe that this is the best. If you've really taken an objective look at the offers around, if you've really taken a look and you feel like, nope, I'm good where I am, this is really the best, then kudos to you. But don't let anyone sway you, manipulate you, or trick you into staying where you are, because it will hurt their income. That's all I got to say about that. Go out and assess the offer and see where you want to end up. If you want to talk about where we are, I would love to talk about it with you. It may or may not end up being a fit, but hey, I'm happy to have gone through that process with you. Totally cool. If you're looking at any business, I hope these tips were helpful for you to think of some things that maybe you hadn't thought of before. Even if you're in a job, I believe that these tips can help you. There is always a better offer out there, but sometimes the better offer is exactly where you are. And knowing the difference, knowing how to assess it, is the key between being empowered and being fearful. And I choose to live an empowered life. Fear is not a place that I want to live in. And so if you found value in this at all, please share it, please follow, please comment. We would love to hear your feedback. And the best way that you can help us help other people is to share this content. So thank you so much for spending some time with us. This was a long one today, but I felt like it was important to be said. So we do appreciate you. We love, love, love hearing from you and your feedback. Continue rising up and have an awesome day.